Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my one-year ownership review of this 2023 Hyundai Elantra N. I'm going to be kind of taking you through my story of the ownership with this vehicle over the past year, any issues I've had, things that have been bothering me, things that I've really enjoyed, things that I've done to it, and like what the result has been, and just generically everything that's happened over the past year. So let's get right into it. All right, so when I first got this car, I was honestly coming out of a 2018 Hyundai Elantra Sport, and I wanted something, cooler. I ended up going temporarily for a I believe it was 2016 Corvette Stingray. And for that one, I was, looking forward to being my first sports car and stuff like that, but it ended up not really matching with what I really needed at the time. I needed something that could take me to work reliably, and I really thought I was like, oh, I can brave the, the rear wheel drive. But after spending a week with it and it needing some work to be done and like new tires and stuff like that, I returned the Corvette to CarMax and ended up picking one of these because I knew from my Hyundai Elantra Sport experience that this was going to be a great car. It was going to be more powerful than what I had before. In the winter, it's totally fine, especially with the winter tires that I've had. And so, my expectation was like just, reliable daily car and a little bit of extra power in it. And, the rarity factor is really what I was going for. I just like the same with Hot Wheels, the same with like Pokemon. I like the rare stuff. I don't really care about like power as much as I care about the rarity aspect. So these are pretty uncommon, and that's what I was going for. So as for that, it's been going pretty great. I've had a great experience with this vehicle, and I'll go into detail later in this video. All right, so driving impressions. I don't know, I might be a little bit biased, but I really like how this car drives. It's very lightweight compared to other cars its size, and it has a pretty okay amount of horsepower. It's got 276 horsepower. So I think it drives really fun for the type of driving that I like to do, which is like canyon carving. You've seen me do that in my other POV videos on my channel. A little bit like gassing it on the freeway a little bit. I don't really care about like drag racing that much and things of that nature. So for me, it drives really good and it's really fun. It handles extremely well, especially on the summer tires that this car comes with. It's been nothing but a pleasure to drive. I've obviously driven faster cars. I drove the Ferrari in Italy that you might have seen on the channel. And like I mentioned, I had the Corvette for like a week, so I got to try that a little bit. I wish I had it more, but whatever. So I've been in faster cars, and it's obviously really fun to go fast. But for this, 99% of the time, you're going to be doing like regular traffic speed. And it's just fun to like rip it every once in a while when you're on a side road or something like that. It's been a great experience. I have not had any issues driving this anywhere. I put great winter tires on this car that are currently on there right now. I've had some winter experience with it and, not even been close to getting stuck in the snow or anything like that. As long as you know how to choose your battles. Obviously don't, go off-roading on this thing or whatever. But, nothing but great things to say about the driving experience for sure. And I almost forgot to mention, obviously I took not this car, but another Hyundai Elantra N on the track in Sonoma at the Hyundai driving experience. That was really cool. And it drove really well on there. When you're on a track, you can really tell that this car could use some extra horsepower because that's what the track is designed for, going fast, sending it out of corners and things like that. But it was definitely more than enough for my first time on a track, and I had a lot of fun, and this car drove great out there for its price tag, you know what I'm saying? So, again, positive reviews on that front. So let's talk build quality. Okay, so there is one issue that I've had frequently with other people that I've known actually with the Hyundai Elantra N, and they've had this issue where this front part of the vehicle kind of hangs down a little bit. So you can see it's kind of, the panel gap here is a little, wider than you might deem it necessary. And then here you can see it's a little bit narrower, if that makes sense. So I compare it to my finger. So it's tighter here. So basically it's kind of drooping like this to the side. And I've had a couple people mention that to me, that they've had that experience, which I thought was just the most random thing ever. One of my friends took it in to get repaired at a dealership, and they actually like cracked his clip and stuff like that. They had to like do a whole thing, so I didn't even bother with that. It's not too noticeable unless I point it out to you. So that's one thing that's been really weird about the build quality. And obviously coming over here, you're very familiar. I've had it on the channel if you've been a long time follower. On the inside, this A-pillar here, was the plastic on the interior was drooping down, and I'll have a clip on of that on the screen. But that was really weird. Just for no reason at all, my plastic little cover on the interior trim was falling down. So that's one experience I've been having. Other than that, I mean, there's not really anything to mention. I haven't had any issues with anything else. I think that's all I can speak for. You know, obviously there's the reliability concerns that other people have been having. I've had none of that at all, no issues, no nothing. I've just been doing regular oil changes and it's all been good. But you know, some people have had their engines blowing up. You know, other issues with like suspensions and stuff like that. I'm not very familiar because I haven't had to look it up myself. But yeah, from me personally with this car, no issues at all. I would personally recommend it, but I am being very careful just because I know other people are having issues. So I'm trying not to modify it or do anything to this car that would cause a higher risk of the engine exploding on me. So that's kind of my experience. Hope you will have a similar experience to me, you know, no issues. All right, so welcome back to the interior of the vehicle for this segment, the kind of technology segment. You know, this car has been pretty awesome for me. I love these digital dash, you know, clusters. So that's been awesome. Just enjoying, you know, you could set it to different like things to display, obviously just like every other modern car now. But different themes you can even have. I like this blue one just because it matches the interior, but there's like a white one and a red carbon fibery one. But mainly the thing I wanted to mention the most was the N specific features that we've got here, the N mode, whatever system, whatever you would call it on the infotainment, where you can do like your track times, your oil temperature, all this other crap, and you can set the custom N modes and your launch control and other, you know, additional options. You could go in here for like 20 minutes and just mess around. But that's been really cool. I haven't really been using it as much as I thought I would, but I guess it makes sense. You know, this is mainly, you know, for track use or you know, when you're doing autocross or things like that, you know, not necessarily for everyday use. Most of the time I just slap on N mode if I want a louder exhaust or put it back, like if I see a cop, or you know what, if I'm low on gas, I'll put it into eco mode, you know, simple things like that. So there's not, you know, anything that's like too out of the ordinary here besides this N specific technology that we've got here. And you know, actually my surprisingly favorite feature has been the lane keep assist here, where you can just put this bad boy on, it'll turn green when you're good to go, and it'll just steer for you as long as you're like on the freeway or something like that. It's been so awesome. I use it a lot more than I really thought I would. I use it almost every day. So I love that feature. I'll probably show some clips of me using it, but you know, you've seen it on the Teslas, you've seen it on the Mercedes, and I guess now you see it on this car. I really didn't think this car would have this feature, but then I saw it on the steering wheel and I have not stopped using it since. One other big thing to mention is the fuel economy of this car, because you know, it's a relatively high power, you know, obviously not the highest, but you know, we've got actually 26.9 miles per gallon for this current drive. As you can see, I'm averaging really 30 miles per gallon lifetime here. So I'm very, very pleasantly surprised with the 30 miles per gallon figure. I really thought it would be lower. I've been, you know, warned against getting this car because of the fuel economy in previous YouTube reviews that I've seen. And for me personally, I don't know if I drive it weird or if the roads I'm going on are pretty optimal, but my fuel economy has been great. You know, I used to get like maybe 32 in the Elantra Sport, so this is not too far off at all. This has been pretty great. One thing that I do want to mention regarding fuel economy is that the gas tank is actually pretty small, so I do have to refuel like weekly. which is unusual for me. I would really go once every 2 weeks in my previous car, and I didn't expect it to be so frequent. But I guess maybe that's like one of the things that is kind of adjacent to this fuel economy thing, is how often you have to refuel. And I do have to refuel once a week, which is sometimes annoying. Not too bad for me. I have gas stations on my way to work and everything, so it's been not too shabby at all. This car does take premium fuel, which has been an adjustment for me. The Elantra Sport took regular fuel, so this has been premium. It used to be pretty expensive right after COVID and stuff like that, but it's come back down right now to a pretty acceptable price in my neighborhood. So no issues there, I guess, right now. There might be again in the future, who knows how that goes, but yeah, right now nothing to complain about. Just the premium fuel kind of sucks, but it be like that sometimes. All right, so let's talk about maintenance costs. I don't have a lot to say here, obviously, because my personal experience has been $0 in maintenance costs. When I purchased the vehicle, I got 4 free services at Hyundai McDonald's. So for that reason, I've only had 4 services done so far. I've had $0 put into this car so far on maintenance. The receipt for the maintenance comes in at about $110 for an oil change or something like that. So for now, we're pretty good out here. $0. It'll be like $100 basically every 5,000 miles or so. So, that's for the oil, that's for the labor. Other than that, I have not had anything to mention, so it's going to be a short segment. Hope you enjoyed it. Moving on. All right, so moving on to interior comfort and kind of roominess here, you can see there's kind of a thinness aspect to these seats. These are, obviously like racing seats or whatever. They've been super comfortable to be in. Obviously not as comfortable as if I had like a Rolls Royce seat or something like that, but at all, nothing to complain about. You can move them back and forth. They're not automatic. They're manual for the weight savings or whatever they want to claim. But definitely had a good experience with these front seats. And in the back, it's kind of a similar story. I mean, they're not as racy, but it's the same materials. In my opinion, the Alcantara type, I don't think it's actual Alcantara, but the Alcantara type material on the seats is amazing. I did not want leather everywhere like I had in my previous Elantra Sport, because that is super hot in the summer and super cold in the winter. And so this being on the actual seated area is amazing for my rear end, my derriere. Thankful that they decided to go with that material and just leather on the where it's more aesthetic, you know what I'm saying? So great experience there. A bunch of room. I think it has more interior and trunk room than the Kona N, so that's been great. People have gotten in the back and been okay. I'm a pretty big, tall fella, and I fit just fine in the front, and people have sat behind me and they're totally fine. So no issues on the interior space front. One thing I did want to discuss is in the back here. I'll switch over real quick. All right, so over here in the back, you can see we've got these red bars of apparently rigidity and structure. So that's their superhero names. One thing that does is make it, more stable driving on the racetrack or whatever, gives you better handling, yada, yada. I can't tell the difference because I'm not good at racing cars, but somebody who actually knows what they're talking about probably could. One thing that this does is reduce the amount of stuff you can shove back here, because if you want to push the seat in and kind of have like a long back seats plus trunk type of storage deal here, these red bars don't move, so you will just have to kind of squeeze it in between there. I have never encountered an issue with this because I don't really haul big things. But if somebody's working in construction or something, I don't know what the scenario would be where you would need a huge trunk. Like maybe you want to carry your mattress and this is your only car. You might have to rent a U-Haul. I am so sorry, fellas. You cannot get it through these red bars. There is a way to remove the red bars if you don't care about, I guess, the structural integrity improvement that you get, which you probably don't, but also it is a really big hassle. They are removable if you kind of put the back seats down and take out some bolts and do all sorts of magic tools and drills and whatnot, whatever things that I'm not familiar with. Other than that, you know, pretty spacious area. I could fit like 4 of me in there, I'm pretty sure. I haven't tried, I guess. But yeah, nothing but good things to say about that. Cool, so let's talk about a little bit the community aspect of this vehicle. I've had nothing but good things happen to me since joining the enthusiast community, as they like to call themselves. I think it's a little corny, but whatever. Who cares? Hyundai came up with it, so we have to say it all the time, and whatever. I signed my soul away. I don't know. But as you might be familiar, I kind of helped. I was one of the first few people in the Colorado N owners community here in Colorado. So you know, we have like Instagram, we have like Facebook, TikTok, Discord, we have all the social medias. So if you want to follow us, I'll include a link in the description. But basically we go on like cruises all the time, we hang out, we go to restaurants together. We've got one coming up in February where we're going to In-N-Out, so that's gonna be really fun. But basically everybody's super enthusiastic about this car, and you know, as a result of that, I have been invited by Hyundai to go to Sonoma, kind of like how I mentioned earlier in this video. And when I was there, everybody there was super enthusiastic about their cars as well, which makes sense. Like, you're gonna get a certain demographic of people flying in or whatever. They're gonna be like the more hardcore enthusiasts, but regardless, like, nobody wanted to like do like insurance fraud and total like their car or whatever. Like, damn, I wish I could have an M2. Let me drive this off a cliff and get the insurance money and get that car instead or whatever. Obviously the M2 is a great car, but you know, the people that have this car love this car, which is a great thing. One downside of the rarity that I mentioned about this vehicle before is that the aftermarket support is really not the best. For example, if I wanted to get a carbon fiber spoiler for my vehicle, like I've wanted to many times, it would run me back like $3,000, I'm pretty sure, because there's only like 1 or 2 different kinds. So there's not a lot of selection, there's not a lot of market for this car, so therefore the parts are going to be a lot more expensive for something like that. So it kind of prices you out of things that I would not like to be priced out of. So I would love to do a carbon fiber spoiler. I would love to spend like $1,000, maybe $1,500 on something like that. I feel like that would be a better price, but definitely a lot of things are too expensive for what they are, in my opinion, just due to the low market for this car. So that's one downside. It could be a pretty big downside depending on how you like to enjoy your vehicles, or you know what, maybe you leave it stock, you don't even care. So that's kind of like how my experience has been. The community is wonderful, and just, you know, a little bit of lacking on the aftermarket support. Okay, so in conclusion, should you get this car? In my opinion, yes. You know, I've kind of said all throughout this review, I've had a great experience with this car, no reliability issues at all. It goes pretty fast. It's nice for everyday use. I drive it to work all the time. You know, there's no major downsides. Obviously, depending on your kind of self-esteem as a driver, in my opinion, might be a deal breaker, because this car is only offered in front-wheel drive. So obviously that's one downside. You know, if you want to hear like all about the specs and features and things like that, go watch like you know, the Doug DeMuro review of this car or something like that, where he'll go into depth about like, you know, front-wheel drive, you know, horsepower, torque, whatever, quirks and features and things like that. But for me, covering like my overall experience with this car for 1 year, it's been a pleasure. I've had such great times with it. It's brought me closer to a lot of people that I would never have met if I didn't have this car. You know, nothing but great things to say about it. You know, you could obviously go with like, you know, a used Audi S4 or something like that if you want more power and all-wheel drive. But then, you know, you get to the point where it's like, oh, I'm scared. Like, if one thing goes wrong on this car, it's like $1,000 or something like that. Whereas like with this, it's like a Hyundai, you know, I'm gonna pay like $200 or something like that for a part. you know, it's a Hyundai, so they're all back ordered. I'm gonna have to wait, but you know, you get a loaner vehicle and all that stuff. It's not a huge deal at the end of the day, but you know, definitely a lot cheaper. I'm not worried about like, oh shit, I ran over like a monkey or something like that. I don't know, like I destroyed my suspension, I am going to be bankrupt. It's nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? All these parts are pretty readily available. There's some N exclusive parts, but it's not really the end of the world even if you break those. So in my experience, you know, it's a great car. You can drive it on the edge without being afraid of anything. You know, it sticks to the road amazingly. If I you know, crash into a beluga whale or something like that, I'm not worried about repairing it. More than likely, it'll just be totaled and I get a new car with insurance these days. Nothing but great things to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next video. Have a good one.